Good energy here tonight. It feels like summer. Is anyone getting summer vibes?
Ooh, we are going live on the YouTube.
Just me?
Sure. We're all hooked up,
Just you.
so we're going to get this started in 3, 2. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are coming to you live from a couple of different places on the internet. We're live on Crowdcast. We're live on YouTube. Maybe you're listening to us later on a podcast.
Which is totally cool.
Hello from the past.
This could be being broadcast in some sort of like Woodstock-style podcasting experience.
Whoa.
Taking their clothes off and running free because it feels like summer. I'm feeling good vibes here tonight. Everyone's excited. Pete's just barely keeping his bones inside his skin. As usual, it's really time.
Yeah, very normal stuff. Now, we have two amazing... are you going to play the little guitar on your shirt?
Yeah!
Nee!
Guitar solo!
Wow, that is just like Bob Dylan himself.
I'm wearing a Bob Dylan t-shirt for those of you listening.
Now, we have two amazing guests for you on the show tonight. So later on, we're going to have Daniel Warren Johnson is going to be here to talk about his books. But right now, we're going to invite our first guest here. She is the writer of the new book, Silver City, from Aftershock Comics. Ladies and gentlemen, Olivia Cuartero-Briggs. Hello, Olivia. How are you?
Hello. I am good. It's so good to be here. Thank you, guys.
Oh, my gosh.
Thanks for coming.
I'm very excited about this book. It comes out tomorrow. And I know you've talked about this in a million interviews, but this is definitely something that I think people don't expect.
But this one's ours. This is
ours.
We're our group
Let's
together.
This was inspired by a dream you had, right? This book?
Yes, an extremely vivid dream that I had in my mid to early 20s. I think I was like around the 24 mark. And at the time, I kind of had the sense that I wasn't yet a good enough writer to figure out what to do with it. I did attempt to write it as a novel first, and then I went to grad school for dramatic writing, and that completely took over my life. And then when I got out of graduate school, you can always tell if you've got something if you try and communicate the idea to another person and you can get them excited about it. Or if you're talking to someone and they just don't flat out say, like, I don't understand anything you're talking about. And that was my concern.
I stopped listening several minutes ago. That's the reaction you don't want to get.
Exactly. Or like, I'm sorry, I can't make any sense of this. Where's the check? Which is, equally a bad sign. But when I got out of grad school, I happened to meet the fantastic Glenn Mazzara, who had just come off The Walking Dead. He was the showrunner of that show. And he had agreed to be my mentor, little did he know. Ooh. And so I just soft pitched him the idea. And he was like, all right, cool. So you've got this cool purgatory story. Okay, what else you want to write? And I was like, oh, he thinks it's a cool purgatory story. Okay, if Glenn Mazzara is saying that, then I know I've got something here. And he didn't look utterly confused. And so, I spent the next few years with it in the back of my mind trying to figure out what to do with it. And then when the amazing Adam Glass introduced me to the world of comics with Mary Shelley Monster Hunter, I was like, oh my God, this is it. And the folks at Aftershock are just crazy and experimental nutcases like I am. And so it was the perfect home. And it was the only thing that I pitched them after Mary Shelley. And Lee Kramer, he was like, I think we're going to do this. I was like, you sure?
Nah.
And so here we are.
Well, so you at least started, like you were kind of talking about, with a background in TV writing, transitioned into comic book writing with Mary Shelley, and then are moving on to this. What did you learn from that first experience that you applied to the second experience here? Just in terms of
first
the comic
experience
writing.
with comics?
Yeah, first experience with comics.
Great thing about TV and comics, and I'm still actively writing for television as well, is that they employ a lot of the same dynamics in terms of, when you're writing an episode of television, you want your act outs to be really strong, right? Really compelling, cliffhangers, big twists, big turns, which is exactly the same thing that you do in single issue comics, right? You want the end of each issue to really, just hit them as hard as you can, have a big turning point, some big crazy twist to get people coming back. Because unlike TV, folks have to wait a month. Like, that's a long time to lose interest and to decide, oh, what's that Silver City thing? So I used a lot of what I had learned from television in Silver City and Mary Shelley. And then, I mean, Mary Shelley was a big learning curve, mostly in terms of formatting. And obviously there's a visual component, but it's very different than film and television. That goes without saying. So that was a learning curve, but it was a learning curve under the guidance of Adam Glass, who has, I don't even know how many comic books he's written at this point, like hundreds. And he's just a ridiculous talent. He's the kind of person that when you're shooting ideas back and forth, it's anything goes. Nothing is too crazy. It just needs to be honed and sharpened. And it was an amazing atmosphere to be creative. So I was really guided by one of the best. And, I felt like it was kind of a seamless transition. And I will tell you, it was so exciting to me that I am now completely hooked. Like, comics will be a part of my life for as long as people keep paying me to write them. And maybe even if they don't.
Yay!
I know. Before we go too much further, could you tell us full on the premise of Silver City? I feel like
sure.
We just know so far Dream and Purgatory.
Okay then. So yes, Silver City is the story of a young misfit who finds herself in the purgatorial slum of the afterlife, known as Silver City, and discovers that there is a massive mission afoot. Oh, look at that. That's so beautiful.
It really is.
I love to see those graphics. So just in terms of the story of the first 5 books, she discovers this young girl has and I don't want to do too much of a spoiler, but yeah, I know. So she meets this character Junie, who presents a very interesting mission for Rue. Rue is someone who grew up in the foster system in Southern California. She grew up an underdog. She's got a thing for underdogs, and she's not going to let anything happen to this kid. And it ends up driving the story through the first 5 books into a realization of a much larger mission, which is basically to liberate mankind. And
awesome.
in the first book, you're introduced to the myth of the Silver Knight and the idea that death is an artificial construct that was created by a group called the Timekeepers in order to keep us under control, right? What's more palpable than fear of death? If you don't fear dying, there's not much control you can have over people. Yeah. So thousands of years ago, the Timekeepers erected boundaries between the world of the living and each world of the afterlife. So that fear of not knowing what comes next allowed them to manipulate the masses, like Holocaust, Khmer Rouge, some recent administrations that I can't really think about that. That would be the work of the Timekeepers. And so the mission becomes, how do we defeat the Timekeepers and liberate humanity, all of us, from a prison that we don't even know we're in?
That's awesome. An amazing dream that you had. I can't believe that you dreamt this. This is so cool.
Very intense.
Also, the artwork is just so magical and kind of like
it's incredible.
Dream. Yeah, it's so cool. We got these like pages without any words, and to me, like just seeing the artwork and kind of like a full page is pretty awesome.
And don't tell the writer that, Pete. But...
Well, I'm just
you don't even need the words. No,
Sometimes you don't.
But let me ask, on the dream topic, how much of this did you dream, or was the dream one of those like sort of imagery, series of images dreams? Like, I'm so curious about that as an inspiration for such a story that is just so big.
So, I mean, a lot of the work of the mythos and background of the world came after the dream. Really? But what the dream was, I know, isn't that the most gorgeous incentive cover? And that's my puppy Snacks right there. Who's my actual
Snacks.
Yeah, my actual dog who passed away right before I started writing these books. And I wasn't ready to let him go, so they let me resurrect him in this book. So cool. But in the dream, I woke up and I was on the floor of this weird place I'd never been to before. The room was very hazy. There were all of these other people around. It was really cacophonous. Someone was shining a flashlight in my eyes. And I said, what's going on? And they said, you've passed on. And immediately I believed them. And yeah, it was right off the bat. And they said, okay, you're going to go into the hall. You need to go through processing and then you need to find a room to stay in for the night. And I remember going from room to room and there was someone in every room, strange people I had never seen before. And they said, okay, well, there's been some sort of mass casualty event that you died in. There's too many people here today. We're going to take you to another wing. So they took me out into this footbridge. And it was then that I saw this crazy, amazing city sprawled out before me. And it was gray and it was weird and dark. And it was like boxes upon boxes stacked on top of one another, all different architectural styles. And towering above it all, in my dream, it was basically a coat of arms stuck on a pole, like looking over the city. What Luca did with it's much more interesting than what my feeble brain developed in my dream. But I knew that I was in a completely unfamiliar place. I had to find an apartment. I had a couple of roommates, which is where the characters of Victor and Mick come in. And I was very dismayed to find out that not only was I dead, but now I had to get a job and pay rent, which was ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, talk about a kick in the pants. And this was like not a nice place to live. Like it was all getting really bad. And then to add insult to injury, I found out I had to volunteer at the place that I had landed. It was like everyone's civic duty to volunteer at this place. And I was helping new arrivals like I had been. And this, I know it's like a very crazy vivid dream, but this baby landed in the arrivals room and I'm holding this baby and this person I knew as the professor in a white coat, which is where the white coats come from. He said, we usually just get rid of those. I was like, what? And he said, yeah, they don't grow and they don't change here. So we usually just get rid of them. And I said, you're not getting rid of this baby. I'm going to take this baby. I'm going to take care of it. So I took the baby home and there was a time jump here because my dreams are awesome, I guess, as they do. And I was feeling in her mouth and I realized she was growing teeth. And that was the moment where I said, oh my God, she's not dead at all. She's alive somewhere. And now I have to get her back. And that's when I woke up. So that was the extent of the dream. But when I woke up, I was living with one of my best friends in the whole world. His name is Brian, and he was my great friend from college. And we had come to LA, and we fancied ourselves filmmakers. And we had this little production company that only made money because we rented out our camera all the time. We were always talking about ideas. So as soon as I woke up, I was like, Brian, I got to tell you something. And so it was great to have someone to brainstorm initially with. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And it's crazy that, over 12 years later, I don't know, how old am I? That this exists. And I'm in the process of framing every incentive cover. It's my first comic. I can do that.
Don't you be ashamed. Oh, yeah. Put them up. That's great.
And I look at them and I just can't believe that it exists. And in my dream, someone said to me, this is Silver City. Silver City was in the dream.
Wow.
And so the fact that is, in print on the cover of something, it amazes me all the time. So
this is Silver City and a comic book named Silver City that you'll make in a few years.
Yep.
So you've got, this is 5 issues, is the miniseries, is that correct?
It's 5 issues with a big, fat, nasty cliffhanger. So I apologize to all of you, but I want to write this for a long time. So no one's getting an ending out of me. Not anytime soon.
And in between the comics work, what are you working on otherwise? What else would you like to plug, if anything?
My episode of Queen of the South just aired a couple weeks ago. I never know how many details I can talk about with things that are in the works, but I am cooking up something that I'm very excited about with Oni Press right now, which is my first foray into a little bit more YA with a team of really badass 18-year-old girls out of this really kooky, weird town in Arizona that I passed through while driving on Route 66. It's called Seligman. But you know those towns in Arizona where you're going to stop for the night and then you look around and you're like, maybe I should keep going. You know, and like it looks like no one lives there. And then, you know, you see like a few people in the bars, but they have like mannequins, like weird dressed up mannequins in the window fronts and like all those like deteriorating cars that someone's painted on. And it's like a super wacky place that just, it's colorful and bright, but just feels so haunting and haunted. So it's a comedy horror.
You didn't dream that one as well. That feels pretty dreamy too.
For me, yeah, that would be scary if I didn't know the difference. But talk to me in a few years. we might get there. Who knows? So that's what I'm cooking up with Oni, and with Aftershock. There is a very unexpected continuation of the Mary Shelley Monster Hunter universe in the works that I'm super excited about and should be diving into very soon.
Great. That is awesome.
That's great.
Olivia, we'll definitely have to have you back on when the Oni book comes out or whatever is next for Bram Stoker, Werewolf Hunter, maybe just throwing that out there.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not saying anything.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys. I hope you enjoy the books as they come out. Let me know.
Very
we'll
excited.
Force Pete to read the words.
But look, the pictures are beautiful too. Luca Merli is a genius who crawls into my head from all the way over in Italy and like draws what's in there. And he's an amazing talent. I owe him many, many alcoholic beverages.
Awesome. Olivia, have a great night. Thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks. Once again, that's Olivia Cuartero-Briggs. The book is Silver City. The first issue from Aftershock Comics is out tomorrow, so definitely check that out, as well as all the other things she's mentioned. It's a very cool-looking book and a fun premise.
Yeah, real fun premise.
I'm going to invite our second guest here in the stream. Pete's going to freak out because he is a huge fan. This is not going to be cool. But he is the creator of Murder Falcon as well as working on Beta Ray Bill for Marvel. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Warren Johnson. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming on. So we're huge fans, Pete in particular, of Murder Falcon. He's not playing it cool at all, but that book is great. You're working on Beta Ray Bill now for Marvel. The third issue is out May 26th, and that is really cool as well. I'm going to turn it over to Pete for a second because I'm sure he is bursting at the seams to ask you literally anything.
Okay, first off, hey, it's a pleasure to see you again. I don't know if you remember, but I accosted you at a Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con.
New York Comic-Con with the cool custom-made T-shirt.
Yeah, it's right there in the background. I got.
Yes, I see it.
I took two of my favorite panels from the first issue and put them on that T-shirt. And then a fan sent me this original artwork from the graphic novel. I don't know if you can see it, but it's when he walks, when the doctor takes him into the hospital, and you see all the patients with this stuff coming out of their head, and then the first glimpse of the VHS tape. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And, I was very Aaron and John, who are our Patreon friends, sent that to me for my birthday, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Dude, you are awesome. All right. First off, thank you.
This is such big Chris Farley show energy. I can't even believe it.
Beta Ray Bill has been a phenomenal start, and it's just great to see your stamp. Also, the Wonder Woman run that you did was just so badass in all the right ways.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show with us, and thank you for bringing joy in such a badass metal way. And I also wanted to point out, like, normally the glare on the picture is really bad, and I used beer koozies because I had to keep it metal for Murder Falcon to prop it up behind there, and hopefully it doesn't fall.
That's a lot of questions in there, Daniel.
Yeah, so really just answer them in order if you can.
In any order you like.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much for the kind words, Pete. That's awesome. Thanks so much for your support. It was a pleasure to meet you at New York Comic-Con. Was it the first time we met?
Yes, it was.
Man, your energy, positive energy, radiating from down the hall near like Rob Liefeld's table all the way to me.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it was awesome. It kind of that kind of stuff, those kind of interactions really help keep me going when you're kind of in the trenches with any projects. But oftentimes, whether it be Murder Falcon, Beta Ray Bill, or Wonder Woman, you get to like issue 3, middle of issue 3, starting issue 4, and you're like, am I doing this right? Is this okay? Is this good? And actually, it's funny because that piece of original art is from the kind of second arc of Murder Falcon, even though it's one book.
Yeah.
I finished issue 4, which of Murder Falcon, which the script was, and the whole story was kind of like pretty compact. Like the world was pretty small. And I was really having a hard time kind of expanding the scale and scope of the world with like other people being affected by these like bad guys, like you see in your page. Yeah. And I was just totally losing the characters' voices. And this was right around New York Comic Con. I don't know. When did I meet you? Did I meet you when Murder Falcon was over, or was the first issue like just coming? Had the first issue just come out, or was it a year later? Can't remember.
I think it was a year, like, because I had read all of it at that point when I met you. Yeah.
So when I met you, minus a year, I was literally trying to figure out issue 5, and I had written like 3 different versions of issue 5.
Oh wow!
Wow!
It was a dark time.
Yeah.
And my editor on Murder Falcon, Sean, I had breakfast with him on like a Friday or Saturday of the show, and I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't do this. I can't write this. He's like, okay, hold on, just calm down. And he had some great advice for me. He's like, just keep it. He's like, you can explain the world, but you keep the arc of the characters the same and make sure that they keep doing what they were always going to be doing, and make sure their voices stay clear. And like, what would the characters do? So don't worry about the world. Let the characters do what they're going to do, and then you fill in the holes with the world where you need it. So
when I have a question for you, sort of in that vein. How do you? What's your process like? Because you're doing so much on these books, and everything is big. It feels like, from the look, the feel, the emotions the characters are going through. Like and I know Pete's a super fan, but these books really hit you. So like, I want to hear how you make them.
Well, usually it has to start with some sort of spark. Usually that will be visual. So I'll be sketching in my sketchbook, or something will get me excited, and I'll get an idea of like, man, how do I get to make a story where I get to draw this character all the time?
That's such a sweet answer.
It is. So I have a project coming up after Murder Falcon, after Beta Ray Bill. That's actually the first concept I've made without knowing any of the character designs.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
So it's actually kind of scary for me to like start working on that project without really knowing. I mean, I started sketching things out, but honestly, it's been kind of a process, and like I was getting frustrated because I was like, these character designs aren't nearly as cool as this concept. Usually, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
A weird kind of like flip for me, which is good because as the busier I get, the less time I have to draw. And most of these ideas, like the ideas for Murder Falcon, Extremity especially, I was doing like I was just kind of sketching for fun, and just kind of casually exploring visual ideas. And so with this new project, it's totally different. But that being said, some sort of spark, like with Murder Falcon, it was the name at first, and then I immediately drew like, if Murder Falcon existed, what would he look like? And
yeah, I gotta say, drawing Murph must have been amazing.
It was, it was really funny. Like the thing I struggled with, the bandana, the face, the shape, all like first drawing got it done.
That's awesome.
And it was the metal arm that was giving me trouble. I was trying to make it look more kind of like District 9-ish, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working. Yeah, there you go. So I was like, I need to kind of Kirby this up. I need to make it kind of big, and like that pipe on his arm that like has no like functional value whatsoever. It's just literally there because it's a cool shape. Yeah. So for the most part, it's very visual, and there has to be like some sort of infusion of my own kind of personhood in the story, because it's I've tried to do this where I just like make something badass without necessarily like, or like, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals whatever all that adds up to, right? Like
Yeah.
I can make a boilerplate story, no problem. But making it kind of feel more than the sum of its parts is, it's kind of, I don't know how it is. It feels like kind of like almost like this like spiritual energy. Like I have to kind of like transfer part of myself into the page and feel like I'm telling a story that's like bigger than myself. If that's kind of a artsy fartsy way to kind of approach it, but I'll be working on projects and I'll have to shelve it because I'm like, this doesn't have the right juice. It's not. It's
Right.
like, for instance, Extremity. It was just a revenge story where none of the characters had lost like any limbs or anything. I was like, what if it took me a long time to figure it out. So I was like, this is just a revenge story, but with my art style, and it wasn't working. And so then it wasn't until I was like, what would be the stakes for me? Like, I'm trying to get more into me, and then that's where the losing the drawing hand came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like every writer, every artist is different, but for me, like I kind of have to like dredge up this stuff for my own self in order for my stories to work. So I don't think I'm going to be doing any like historical fiction anytime soon.
It's so funny to hear. Let me just say one last thing on that. It's so funny to hear you say that because of the big emotions you have on there, it feels like that's first from a reader perspective, and to have that be like sort of what you find seems so much harder. But extra credit for going that way.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like the stuff that the characters go through is so real and so easy to connect to. I mean, that's why I put Jake on the top of the van. Like that's the moment where he's talking about love and the loss that he feels, you know what I mean? And it's so big and it's epic. And then when you pans out and you see the other side, the double spray, you think like, oh man, they're looking at a beautiful lake and there's a giant monster staring back at them. It's such a cool reveal. But what I like is like, I'm excited to see what Beta Ray Bill is going to go through emotionally, right? Because he's bringing a lot of, not a lot of, but some baggage to this kind of like big event. And it's very interesting to see, like in a Murder Falcon or even Wonder Woman, like the emotional journey that they go through is really something that is easily like connected to and makes them seem smaller than they really are.
Well,
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah,
I just wanted to ask on the other end of the spectrum then, on the note that Pete is saying, if you do start with this artistic process, sketching out this character, and it kind of comes from there, what about when you're doing a pre-existing character like a Wonder Woman, like a Beta Ray Bill? Where does it start with that?
Well, it's a heck of a lot easier. It's I'm sure I've used this metaphor in interviews before, but it really works. With Beta Ray Bill or Wonder Woman, it's like you get to go to a toy box and there's all this crap inside that you get to play with. You're like, oh, this is cool. Nobody's used to this in a while. Dust it off and you're like, Scuttlebutt, man, what a cool ship. I'm going to use you.
Yeah.
Or like, whatever, right? You have all this stuff and you get ideas from the existing designs and stories and randomness that is, from decades and decades of continuity and just one-offs, and you just kind of sift through it in your brain and you're like, this is great and it's fun, and it's still hard to make like a story that is that's like means something, but it's not as hard as going to the toy box and like having nothing there. So you like make Murder Falcon, you're like, well, I know what Murder Falcon looks like, but there's nothing else in this box. And not only do you have to like make designs, but you have to like make like motivations, personalities, like arcs that, because like I can almost like with Beta Ray Bill and Wonder Woman, I can kind of have a conversation with the artists and writers that have come before, that have done a lot of the really tough legwork. So like when Scourge arrives in issue 2, I have this kind of Scourge attitude that already exists. Like I never had to problem solve that.
Right.
It was just kind of me paying homage to what is that we already know to be true about that very cool and fun character. And in a lot of ways with Beta Ray Bill, I'm kind of playing off, the the concepts of Beta Ray Bill that have already been in play. I'm just kind of infusing my own take on like his personality, and like I kind of identify with him. Like I don't especially think I'm like a very attractive person, or we all struggle with like feeling not sexy.
Sure.
And so you're just kind of like trying to channel that, and taking vessels like Wonder Woman or like Wonder Woman. I was taking kind of my new parent, like being a new parent, and trying to figure out how to not be wary or untrustful of the world, like how to be open to the world while also protecting my own kid, which feels like impossible, but there's that inherent struggle.
Speaking of Scuttlebutt, it does look like in one of the little kind of rooms in Scuttlebutt, it looks like you doing some drawing. Did you give yourself a little cameo in there?
Oh yeah, dude, that's my studio.
Nice.
If you'll notice, Mike Spicer's studio is in there as well.
Yeah, it looks like there was 2 in there.
Donnie Cates is writing on a laptop in the engine room as well.
That's awesome.
There's no way for anybody to actually know that that's Donnie Cates, but I asked Donnie because I texted Mike and I was like, "Can you send me a few pictures of your studio? I want to draw it in this ship design." And of course, Mike sent it to me, and I did the same with Donnie because he's writing Thor. I thought it would be fun, and we're friends. And Donnie's like, "I don't have a studio. I just write wherever I can." So I just stuck him in the engine room.
Every time we talk to him, he's like, I was on the subway on my way here writing. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Relax. Enjoy a trip somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know how he does that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you were tackling Beta Ray Bill, just because we're looking at that and that's the current thing coming out,
right?
I think you touched on what the goal with this book is, to deal with his view of his own appearance, to talk about his mythology, but talk us through the story and the genesis a little bit beyond that. Was there anything else you were looking to tackle, or were there things that you did not want to tackle necessarily with this?
Well, ideally, I kind of wanted to kind of play in the sandbox by myself, kind of like I did with Wonder Woman. But one problem that we were kind of running into is Marvel does not really have an avenue for telling those kinds of stories where like creators can just kind of do their own thing. Unlike Black Label, which was made for creators to be able to do that. And there's that inherent freedom, which I really loved. And when I was talking with Marvel, when we were starting it, I don't even know if Donnie was writing Thor at that time. I was just like, I basically emailed Will Moss, an editor at Marvel, out of the blue. I was like, I would kill a Beta Ray Bill book. Let's do it.
Nah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
And Will was unsure of the selling possibility of Beta Ray Bill. He had not been used a lot. I don't think Jason Aaron really used it much. I could be wrong about that. I don't totally know.
No, I think that's right. I feel like he's been sort of out of touch for a while.
Yeah, he shows up in, I guess, Guardians a little bit, like, but
right.
I'm not even.
Ragnarok has got a statue. He's got a statue in.
Yep, there's
Ragnarok.
a statue of him, which I noticed. I saw it. When I watched it, I was like, "Are we going to get Beta Ray Bill at this stadium?" No, of course we're not. But that was a few years ago, and so Will was like, we'd still really love to work with you. Maybe we can figure out some other projects. And so we started like brainstorming about different projects I could do with Marvel. And then things got more steady around early 2019. And then it was between that and Wonder Woman. And so I decided to do Wonder Woman. And towards the start of the pandemic, as I was wrapping up Wonder Woman, I was reaching out to Marvel and I was like, hey, are you still interested? And they were like, 100%, we'd love to do it. And this is right around the time that Donnie had like really been gearing up into Thor. And I didn't even know this, but they sent me a bunch of copies of Thor to read. And it had not come out yet, the issue where Thor breaks Bill's hammer.
Yeah.
He breaks Stormbreaker. Yeah. And I was like, wait, Stormbreaker is the way he transforms into his old self. It's like this perfect like continuity, because you think about how much things can go wrong in story plans, and it's crazy. And like now being inside of that, where I think Bill was supposed to use. They asked me if Bill's like temporary weapon would be the old. Is it Yarnborn? Like the Young Thor's axe. And I was like, yeah, it's a great weapon. So I'm starting to sketch it out, getting like making sure I can draw it. And I get an email from Will. He's like, hey, actually that axe is in like a different dimension, so we can't use that.
Oh man.
So they're like, come up with some other weapon. I was like, okay, I can do that, and I totally did, which is it's in issue 3.
Awesome.
But you just have to kind of duck and be flexible, and you'll notice there's like a bit of an info dump like in the middle of like Beta Ray Bill's and Sif's like pillow talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sif's like, but wait, what about when you were in like Dimension Blood or whatever? Because I actually did a cover of Thor like fighting aliens for Thor issue 11. It was like a variant cover.
Yeah.
And they sent me comps, and I was just like, oh, this is cool. This cover came out well, and I'm like flipping through it. I'm like, oh, there's Beta Ray Bill in his human form or humanoid form. Like I email Will, and I'm like, we got a problem here. And Will's like, oh, total editorial goof. We totally made a mistake. We're gonna have to write ourselves out of it. And like the art had already been made, the story had already been written, like everything was lettered. And so we had to kind of go back and like fanoodle it,
Yeah, I know that term. I'm familiar with that term.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I'm learning how to be flexible and not take things too seriously. And it worked out in the end. It doesn't read as smoothly as I would like, but you still get that awesome top-down panel of awkwardness the next page.
Yeah.
Where Sif just is like,
It's very funny to use your toy box analogy to have someone call and be like, hey, the axe toy you want to play with, I left it at Billy's house, so you can't play with it.
You can't play with it anymore.
You can't play with it.
Yeah.
I just drew it.
Yeah.
But it's really fun when I'm unsure of something. I'm like, this toy box is really big and deep. I can't reach all the way down. And then I'll call Will, and I'll be like, hey, what's Fin Fang Foom doing? It's like, nothing. I'm like, all right, we're going to use him.
Nose off the top of his head. Nothing. Just hanging out. You want me to call him? I'll have him over your house.
You touched on this a little bit with Marvel stuff just now, talking about Beta Ray Bill, but in the best way, it's almost this surprisingly privileged position to go from doing Extremity, doing Murder Falcon, to get a Wonder Woman book and then a Marvel book and be able to both write and draw it. So not to get too businessy about it, but how did that happen? How did you broach that subject initially with DC and then go say, okay, and same thing with Marvel?
Well, initially the relationship with DC started when they were interested in me drawing a series for, I don't know if it was like Wildcats or Wildstorm or something. I'm not sure. But I turned it down because I said, I really am only interested in projects. This is when I was still working on Murder Falcon. I'm only interested in projects that I can write and draw,
Wow.
And they were like, okay, we'll keep that in mind, moving forward. And then sure enough, Andy Curry emailed me because Andy was like on the email chain. It was a bunch of editors that I was kind of talking to at that time. And they were reaching out like, we really like your work. We'd love to work on something at some point. I was like, great, let's keep in touch. And Andy then eventually reached out and he's like, we'd love for you to do something with Black Label, writing and drawing. And I said, okay, let's figure something out. That'd be really fun. I pitched him a bunch of ideas that he said no to.
Perfect.
And he's cool. He was clear. He's like, look, we're kind of thinking like an A-list hero with a DWJ take. And I was like, okay, let me chew on it for a little while. And I took maybe a month, 2 weeks to a month of just to think about Wonder Woman. But to kind of be more specifically answer your question, I guess I've said no to so many just drawing gigs. I think people have started to recognize or not even really ask anymore because I don't get offers for them.
I love that. You're like, I know you like the art, but have you read this shit? It's also good. Why don't you give that a shot, guys?
Yeah, I felt like I had proven myself with Extremity and Murder Falcon, and kind of being able to break in at the big two with like a book like Wonder Woman, I feel like was a bit of a lucky break that they let me do it, and also a lucky break that people liked it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a statement piece. I mean, that's like, I feel like that was when the movie was sort of all everyone was talking about. So like, and your book was the one they were talking about above, in my estimation anyway, above the main title. So I just feel like that's undeniable. It feels like.
Well, I like you kind of, like you guys said, I was kind of in a privileged position with like being able to work on a Black Label book that I wrote and drew. You know, it's like an unfettered kind of access to the character, and just being able to like explain to my editor, here's what I'm thinking, yes or no, and say yes, and you're like, okay, here we go. Like the outline, the very first outline was like Wonder Woman killed Superman, and my editor was like, cool, all right.
Wow. Is there a circumstance where you would do one or the other, where you'd say, okay, this is a project I'm just going to do writing on, or okay, this is a project I'm just going to do art on, or for the foreseeable future, are you a package deal?
I've thought very seriously and come very close to like signing some writing contracts, but the has to be the right place. Has to be, I don't want to sound like a butthead, but it has to be the right price. And you know, it has to be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not quite found that yet, where I feel like it'd be something that I could really get into.
What? Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
You're fine.
What would you say? Like,
he's angry at you, Pete. He doesn't like you.
Oh no,
mad.
I ruined it. What would you say?
You can't
like,
call him Dan, Pete. You can't call him Dan.
Your favorite part of the process, like after everything's said and done, and you sit back and you know, Wonder Woman's up on the shelf, Murder Falcon, like along the way, is it like coming up with the idea when you finally nail it, when you finally hand in the pages, seeing your name on an unbelievable cover, like talking to some weirdo at a Comic-Con? Like, what is your favorite part of this thing that you get to create and then put out there?
Objective answer only. You don't need to say it's talking to
please,
me, because
don't.
We talk to him every day almost, and it's a lot.
So I'll say this. There's not really any one thing that I like treasure the most out of all of it, because it's all kind of a grind. Like everything that you mentioned, like there's good and bad to both parts, right? So like going and traveling and like meeting people and like, you know, getting to know people is like the best freaking thing ever. But then like I really miss my family, and I don't necessarily love to travel. The idea is like I just do like one Comic-Con in Chicago every year where I live, but that's obviously not feasible. But so I'll put it this way. So my favorite thing about starting the process is being able to find a character design that I get really excited about. Something that's going to like get you, oh man, I did it. Like, this is right. It feels good. During the writing and outlining phase, figuring out the hook, figuring out something that's going to keep people in the proverbial seat, and being excited about it myself, and just having ideas throughout the outline where I get excited. Where I'm like, and then this is going to happen. I tell my wife.
Right. Your wife's like, okay.
Poor wife has got to
yeah, great. You told me about this 3 times. You know?
Yeah.
But no, I'm like,
change
this
last
a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Then in the actual writing process, finishing, like, kind of like just finishing a script and feeling good about it. As soon as I hit like page 20, return, blank, because it's all over. I get to finish. I finished. You know, the feeling I'm like riding on sunshine for like 3 days after I finish a script. It's really hard for me to finish scripts. For the drawing process, the you know, it's kind of like the general kind of steamboat or like a steam engine, like just continual forward march, you know, like, which can be a grind, but it's also very rewarding, where it's like, this page is going to be crazy hard to draw and I'm going to kill it.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, like if it's the more challenging it is, the more revved up I am to be like, here we go.
Yeah.
And having that confidence, which I have gained over the course of, I don't know, 8 years of doing this, it's a special feeling. It kind of I hope that, I don't know what sports people feel like, because I know I'm good at sports, but I imagine you train and you train and you train to have these moments where you're like, I can do this. Like, I have the hand-eye coordination to kick this ball into that net, which I don't know how to do. But man, I can draw a comic book page, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And then for the, going back to the like meeting people after the fact and seeing the book on the shelf, it's getting to the point now where I'm not even like, it's still really special to see my stuff on comic book shows, but the post experience that's most rewarding for me is meeting people like you, Pete. I mean, like, honestly, like, there's a connection there that is crazy, and it ranges from, the very chill, like, oh, that's cool, man, yep, to the like, I had someone who shared Murder Falcon with his dad that was dying of cancer, and they like really bonded and connected over it.
Man, that would have.
I know, right? You're like, it's and I'm not writing these stories to be like, so many people are going to be moved by this. That's not the goal. The goal is to write something that people can connect with and like find something joyous in there that can be shared. So seeing that with other people is, it's the best part.
I gotta say, like, from reading the first issue, I lost my shit. Like, I didn't know how much I needed this in my life, or my mind was blown by the range of it. Like, this idea of like, okay, there are evil monsters and only metal can defeat them. That would have been enough. But then to have this like love story and to deal with loss in this way, I was like just so blown away and so grabbed from the beginning that it moved me. And then I was just like telling everybody about it, just being awesome. Like, you don't know what comics are. Like, what are you doing? Pick up Murder Falcon. And
Daniel,
like,
I know.
Dude, are you in this? Do you have anything to do with this? I was like, no.
I know Pete seems effusive right now, but he talks about this when you're not here too, in the same exact way. So,
before we let you go, let's talk about Beta Ray Bill a little bit. Anything that you can tease about what's coming forward in the next issue, or as we head into the latter half of the miniseries?
Scourge gets a wish granted.
Ooh.
Mm.
There will be a battle axe with rockets on it.
Oh my god.
Beta Ray Bill's suit is obscenely hard to draw. And I always draw Pip too tall. I always draw Pip Patrol too tall.
That's hilarious.
Those are mostly visual things, but the story, we're going deeper, guys. We're going deep. We're going into the dark place. Watch out. With Cephalon, here we come.
Awesome. as a fan, and I loved your interview in the first issue with Walt Simonson, just as a fan of that run, I just think I love how you're digging into the characters here, Beta Ray Bill and all these other ones. It's so cool and such a fun journey. I can't wait to watch it. We do have one question here from the comments from Stray Bullet. Are we going to get more Murder Falcon at any point?
Ooh,
have you heard of Skybound? Have you heard of Skybound X?
Yes. So look to that potentially for more Murder Falcon.
I'm not sure what I can say, but
okay.
Oh, what the heck?
Your eyebrows
Murder Falcon story in Skybound X. Who knows?
Yeah. Awesome.
Your eyebrows gave you away.
You guys need to send me good vibes, because it's a short Murder Falcon story. It's like a little short story, but the art is due at the same time that the art for Beta Ray Bill issue 5 is due.
Oh, wow.
And I'm moving on Monday.
Oh my God!
Man.
What are you doing?
I need that positive energy. You guys are filling me up right now.
Nice.
Well, we will
I'll
continue
send
to
more.
What
send
you got to
it.
do is
I'll light
suck some of the
candles,
energy.
like
Suck
whatever.
some of the energy from Donnie Cates. He's clearly got too much. Use that power on through.
Sounds good to me.
Daniel,
Good luck
thank
with
you
all
so
that,
much
man.
for coming on. Such a pleasure. Good luck with
Yeah,
all the
thank
books.
you.
They're
Great to
amazing. Pete's going to be riding on this high for a week as well. So.
Yeah. There it is.
All right. Have a
Thank you
good
so
night.
much, guys. Thank you
Good
for
luck,
having
man.
me.
Good luck
Thanks
with
for
your
great
move.
questions.
Good luck with your work.
Thank you so much.
Great
All
stuff.
Take care.
All right. There we go. Daniel
Oh, you
Warren
cut him
Johnson.
off, you asshole! You cut him off.
What? No, he was
He's like,
He
oh,
said
we're gonna talk later. He said maybe we're gonna talk later or something.
oh.
I think you made that up, Pete. I don't think you said
I don't
don't
know.
think
He
so.
said- I heard the word like "tuh." I was like, oh,
No, I
no,
don't-
I
you
think
filled
he
it.
was like, talk to you later, is what he said.
yeah.
He was like, Peter,
But that means he wants to talk to us
I love-
later.
and then he got cut off, and we'll never know what he loved.
never
Was it
know
you?
who he
Was
loved.
it comics?
Man.
No idea.
Yeah.
But you all should definitely check out Murder Falcon in case we haven't talked
Yeah,
about it enough
please.
because it's
We've
fantastic.
made a case. We've made a
We
case.
made a
tonight.
case. Beta Ray Bill issue number 3 is coming out from Marvel on May 26th, and Wonder Woman: Dead Earth. That's the title of it, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
collected now as well, so you should definitely check that out. And folks, it is time to turn to our next section,
did it.
which
You
is my
made it.
favorite section, where we talk about how this week's episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com and the new Lawnmower 4.0.
Wait,
Oh.
wait. I thought audience questions was your favorite section.
That's right.
Listen,
That's what
Pete,
you always say.
That's what you always say.
audience questions can't give my testicles the nice clean shave of the
Oh
Lawnmower
my God,
4.0.
What
right,
is
Pete?
happening?
But Alex, that's what we had always planned audience questions to do: is give you a nice clean testicle shave. From the very beginning of this podcast, that's exactly what this
I
section is
remember
for.
I saw you guys at the pit, and I was like, "Hey, I saw you with the Midtown Comics Band," and I was like, "Do you like comics? And also, would you like to eventually down the road do a ball shaving ad?" And you were like, Pete didn't say anything, and then he started doing the show, and Justin said yes.
Let me throw out this. This isn't a ball shaving ad. In on paper, this is an ad for the Lawnmower 4.0, which has a new multifunction on-off switch, which can engage a travel lock. It's got the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when you need it for a more precise shave, which it sounds like Alex needs desperately.
Oh my god, it's woolly down there.
Don't ever say woolly in that context, please, sir. The new trimmer allows you to customize your trim all over through additional guard lengths, so you can get the woolly parts and the less woolly parts. And looks wise, it's sleek with a two-tone matte and gloss finish. This is like the Cadillac of ball shaving devices.
I have a question. Can we move on now?
No, we definitely can't. The optimized Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is waterproof, so you can groom in the shower and not have to worry about making a mess on the bathroom floor. Did I mention? I don't think I actually did mention wireless charging.
Oh yes, because
that's
you
great.
don't want to plug this thing in when you're using it.
No, that's good. I have a
Sensitive.
wireless tablet charger, so you can put your phone, you can put your iPad
Nope.
there, you can put your
And then
ball shaver.
Yeah. there
Your
you
ball shaver. But don't mix them
Stack
up.
'em.
I tried to answer the Manscaped, the Lawnmower 4 the other day, and that was not great.
Hello,
go.
Alex.
Trim
it's
your ear beard.
But
Alex,
that's
it's
okay
your-
because it has the guard, so it's not going to do anything to your ears. Don't use it on your ears. But wireless
it's your-
charging, I said that.
Yep, it's your balls calling. We're feeling awful. We're feeling awful woolly down here. Please get 20% off and free shipping with the code fansided20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code fansided20. Unlock your confidence, which has been taking a hit during this commercial, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
And now it is really time for your audience questions.
Yeah, we made it to audience questions.
We did it. And
We
audience
did it.
questions, of course. We talk about what you're using to shave your balls. Kick it off, Pete.
What? No, we're in a time loop. A horrible,
Yes,
horrible
we are. Now,
Groundhog
Pete,
Day.
what we talk about what you're drinking, and then we get to questions. If you're over on YouTube, drop a question in the comments over there on Crowdcast. I see a couple of questions already popping up and ask a question. But Pete, what you drinking? What you drinking?
I'm drinking a little moonshine. No, I'm drinking vodka soda.
Oh, nice.
I guess so.
Great. What about you,
Nice.
Justin?
I've got the Ruby Red Kolsch from Genesee Brewing. Got this at the local Wegmans.
Yeah, Upstate, baby, come on.
And this is a great summer bev. I think I maybe had it a couple times ago, but definitely get this Kolsch.
I gotta try it out. And I'm drinking a Lagunitas IPA.
Look at us going back to the classics.
Mm-hmm.
All of us. Pete, Moonshine, or whatever he said, and us, these classic beers.
So let's go to some questions. We got one here from Crowdcast. This is from Jonathan McCool. When is the Jupiter's Legacy podcast? What is the Jupiter's Legacy podcast going to be called? So we talked about this.
This is definitely a real tee up for old A's Albs over here.
Yeah. We talked
Mr.
about this.
Woolley
And
himself.
you know what? We kept writing it and texting it back and forth what we were going to call it. And then I said it out loud and I was like, ooh, we can't do that.
Nope.
Jew patter.
What?
Like Jew patter, like talking, but that's not a good topic.
Oh, man.
I mean, we could talk about episodes of Jupiter's Legacy and then parts of the Talmud.
Yes. What a great combo. Well, you know what? Jupiter's Legacy, I haven't really checked much out yet. Not getting the hottest reviews.
Yeah, but it's number 1 on Netflix right now in the top 10.
I find this actually kind of fascinating and super weird because I have seen all of it. It's not great.
Don't fucking.
No, it's not good.
I was going to check it out.
That's a known thing. You and
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed, Pete, but you and Alex have different opinions.
Yes, you'll probably, I don't know, also not like it because it's not good, and the wigs and beards and costumes are terrible. But there are things that are okay about it. Ben Daniels is one of the actors. He's actually pretty good in it. He's the only one that pulls off the old age makeup in any particular way. As it goes on, it gets okay, but the big problem with it, for anybody who's read the comic books, the one thing that I really remember beyond Frank Quitely's art, which is always good, is that it's a very clear, simple Mark Millar premise, right? You have, what if the kids of superheroes were like celeb kids and just sort of coasted on that? They got wasted, they went to parties, they broke stuff, they did photo shoots. The show, for whatever reason, is like, what's more interesting? What if we explored the idea of what if superheroes kill? And should they kill? And watching the show, it's the same sort of reaction I had with Wanted, where they're wanted again. Mark Millar, very
Dead
clear
or
premise
alive.
of like, what if somebody found out that they were the son of the world's biggest supervillain? That's a clear concept. Instead, specifically, what if Eminem was the son of the world's biggest supervillain? And then the movie was like, what if instead you could curve bullets and there's a loop of fate and we overcomplicate this? And they did the same thing with Jupiter's Legacy, where it's like, there's a lot of things that Mark Millar is fine at, but the thing that he is great at is coming up with easily sellable concepts, and I don't know why they keep overcomplicating it. It's crazy to me.
It's especially crazy because he has a million things. He has like an overall deal with Netflix, right? So like they're publishing his comics. They're doing everything with him. So like, why is it? What's the pipeline is short? I don't know why it's getting more complicated.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the comic, and I was looking forward to watching the show. But thanks a lot now, Zalps.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, in terms of the top 10 thing, that's one of the wild things about Netflix's algorithm is they judge their top 10 and put out their stats based on households watching at least 2 minutes of one episode. So if somebody puts out Jupiter's Legacy is like, this sucks, that's a view to them. And then they're going to say 58 million people watched it and it's in the top 10. But one thing, not to get too niche-y in terms of the process, but at work, we'll look through Google Trends a lot to kind of figure out what people are looking for, what questions they're interested in having answering. And every Netflix show always pops up there with like names of cast members, ending explained, what time is it, all these basic things. Nothing.
What time?
Literally
People Google
everybody
what
searches
time
for
is it?
all the time, constantly, for absolute. Nobody knows what time or channel anything is on. There were no searches for Jupiter's Legacy. Nobody was looking for this the entire weekend, which blew my mind. So,
Not even one?
I'm not checking the entire internet, man.
Not even one. Throw him
Anyway,
a bone, Alex.
One.
That's been it for this episode of
What about Jupiter's mom?
Before we wrap up here, though, Pete, it's time for your section of the Haftorah. Go to it.
Oh, great. Yeah. I'm gonna
read the Manscaped ad from the Talmud.
Oh, Pete froze and left, I think, is what happened here.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't think we'll be doing a Jupiter's Legacy podcast necessarily. We'll see what happens, though.
We did talk about it, though, so
we covered it. This is over on YouTube. This is from Easy Reader. Do you have a Bad Batch podcast? That's another one that we haven't really talked about. The new Clone Wars spinoff on Disney Plus. Justin, what were you going to say there?
I was going to say, we haven't ever sort of forayed into full-on Star Wars podcast, and I'd be down for something. Maybe there's a time and place for that. And how is Bad Batch? It's going well, right? I haven't watched it yet.
My terrible Star Wars confession is I hated the Clone Wars movie so much that I never watched the TV show, even though I've heard a lot of times that it gets really good. And the fact that this is a spinoff, my comic completist brain is like, oh, well, you have to watch all 7 seasons of Clone Wars before you watch Bad Batch.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
That's not true at all, apparently, and it's supposed to be super fun and accessible. But
before we move on, I want to shout out a great joke from Eduardo in the comments. I think Jupiter's Legacy fans mainly use Bing, and I think that's accurate. You've been searching Bing trends, Alex, at work?
Oh yeah. we look at
Eduardo had some good singers.
And Prodigy bulletin boards. We spend a lot of time on there kind of trolling for information.
Smart.
Check out Speedball on there. See if any of those old posts are really still banging. That was my Prodigy BB name.
This is from Kevin. Both of your guests discuss the origins of their stories, but what's your favorite origin story for something you've created?
Ooh, forgetting personal.
Favorite origin story.
Story, like where we like came up with it.
Sure.
I was my writing partner John Gabris and I wrote a movie called The Recluse. This is many years ago, 10 years ago, and I was at a wedding in Alaska, a wedding that I was not invited to. I happened to be there. Is this the
one where the cousins met thing? Is that
No, that was in where
You've been to more than one wedding?
Wow. Fucking flex on us, why don't you?
Yeah,
fucking
huge
not
flex.
flexing.
Wasn't invited to the wedding, but I was in Alaska with a friend, and he was invited to the wedding. He was like, "You want to come?" I was like, "Okay, sure."
+1.
Yeah, I was his +1, and the wedding was in this beautiful venue that overlooked this massive river and forest, and I was like, "This is a scary." I feel like I could fall right out into this river, and that would wash away. And that became sort of the catalyst for the action in this movie, The Recluse, that we made. A guy was at his wedding, and the groom, and he sort of was maybe having cold feet, but he wanted to go through with it, and then he got lost in the sort of wilds, Castaway style.
Ooh.
And then
Does
later
he talk to a volleyball?
No, that's a little too. This isn't like some sort of parody movie, Pete.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. And is this the one that you sold to Comedy Central?
No, that was a TV pilot.
Oh man, you've written so much stuff, man. For a line producer, you do a lot of fucking great writing.
Not what I am. Great. What about you guys?
Yeah, do you want us to talk about the origin of Detective Honeydew?
What an
I mean,
asshole.
one that isn't that exciting that I can talk about just because it cropped up again the other day. So back when I was working at MTV,
I remember that.
Lucasfilm contacted and was like, hey, we have an official Chewbacca that we're bringing around. Would you want to have him come into the office and like take some pictures or something? And then I was like, hey, actually, we're doing a lot of video now. Would you want to do a video with us? And they're like, yeah, do you have any ideas or a script? And I thought for like 5 seconds and I was like, Chewbacca gets a job at MTV.
Oh my God.
In honestly like 10 minutes and sent it. And I was like, I don't know. What do you think of this? And they're like, great. And then for Star Wars Day, for May the 4th, they brought Chewbacca by. We filmed the video all day.
Wait.
What?
Peter
Not
Mayhew?
Peter Mayhew.
No, okay, all right.
But it was like, this guy blew me away because he was one of the official people who goes around to Chewbacca. You're gonna hate this, Pete, because there's a peek behind the curtain. So they provided sound files for the roars that he does later on, but to loop them in later, the guy just sort of did silently. But when I was editing it later, it was perfect. Like he had this timing down for those roars.
Oh, that's
perfectly.
awesome.
And I had sort of forgotten about this video because, not to like throw them under the bus too much, but this new guy came in at MTV and was like, take down all the videos for the past 5 years or something.
Boo.
So it doesn't
Smart.
exist on the internet. I had saved it on my private Vimeo. So watch it again and post it on Twitter for Star Wars Day because fuck them for taking it down. But I had completely forgotten the button for the video was we gave Chewbacca a Moon Man because he never really got a medal in Star Wars.
Yeah,
That's great.
And it was great. Like it all just came together and it was this honestly like really wonderful day of joy of Chewbacca going around and everybody in the offices just being delighted to see him. So
That's
that was
awesome.
a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I guess we're talking about writing stuff. We a couple writing buddies of mine. We just got there's this horror writing contest called the Horror Hotel, and we just got second place in the horror writing contest for a script that we wrote called "All My Vampire Friends Think I'm Funny." And basically, the idea is like we were trying to like come up with like, well, what's something that like we can talk about. And since my two friends have a lot of experience doing stand-up comedy, we were wanting to kind of do it from the perspective of someone trying to do stand-up comedy, but then also being a vampire. So like having fun bits and like, hey, the sunlight, am I right? I mean, it's killing me over here. You know, just like stupid fun bits like that where we can kind of combine our love for kind of like that kind of stuff as well as stand-up comedy.
That's awesome. So cool. Great question, Kevin. Let's move to another one. Oh, bye, Pete. Oh, Pete's back. This is from Ben the Border Collie. I'm glad you're back, Pete. You're going to want to answer this one. I think this is for you. Which superhero for sure already uses the Lawnmower 4.0? I'm going to say Aquaman.
Wow.
Interesting.
He's a swimmer. He's got to keep it smooth down there.
Oh my God.
Well, he's not competitively swimming.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not trying to beat somebody, a hairier swimmer.
I mean, I bet he gets.
You think Black Manta's like, how will I ever outswim him? I must become nude.
What is his secret?
Yeah. He's fully manscaped.
I really don't love how this is invading the rest of our show. Pete, do you have an answer to this one?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something like lawnmower, swamp thing. I don't know. I
feel like Wolverine uses it, but it just doesn't work for very long,
It probably grows back really fast. Yeah, the healing factor. I grow back real fast.
You think what he does is he just turns that thing on and drops it in his little spandex suit and just lets it go?
Orders another beer and just
because it's wireless, right? Just charge it up,
let it ride in there.
And a lot of times when he's saving the world or doing stuff on Krakoa, like you can just hear a faint buzzing underneath. Everyone's like, "What is that?" Wolverine's manscaping.
Eduardo's killing in the comments and talking about Beast from X-Men. That'd be funny if he was just like everything below here is just shaved.
He does wear those undies sometimes, so you don't know what's going on.
Hopefully we can get to a point where we're doing Me Undies ads. You know what I mean? That's where the real money is.
That's always been the dream. That's always been the dream. But I feel like, much like Daniel Warren Johnson, I feel like we have to really hold out until he could fully create the Me Undies ads,
DWJ? My boy Dan?
Yeah. He never said you could call him Dan.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. This is from Eduardo. Will MODOK be discussed on the Marvel Vision, or is it exclusive for MCU? If not, what's on your vision board for MODOK? So a little note on that. First of all, we got this Marvel podcast, Marvel Vision, that's rolling out in its own feed. We had been recapping Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In the space between Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki, which comes out on June 11th, we're doing individual episodes just about MCU Phase 1. Those are only rolling out in the Marvel Vision feed. And they've been super fun. We've rolled out Iron Man and Incredible Hulk so far. We just taped our Iron Man 2 episode last night.
Yeah.
And just because a lot of people ask me who's picking this bullshit order. It is Alex. He has control.
Nobody is asking you this.
Yeah, people are like, what
everybody
kind of
understands
timeline?
the order of the
what
MCU.
Kind of weird ass fucking, why is Blade not in there? Like, what's going on?
What? No one's asking where's Blade.
Every day, Mahershala Ali emails.
Thank you, Eduardo.
Like, where's Blade?
Yeah.
Anyway, the answer to that question is because there's, I think, 6 weeks in the middle and 6 phase 1 movies that kind of slotted in very nicely. Then we're going to go into Loki and talk about that. So I don't know.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know when we're necessarily going to be talking about even phase 2, let alone other Marvel stuff. So if we do talk about MODOK, it'll probably be on here or on the Patreon Week in Geek podcast. That said, what's on your vision board for MODOK? Pete, that show seems up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, Oswald he's a hilarious comedian. He's done some comic book stuff. I'm excited to see how hilarious this animated show is going to be. I have a lot of high hopes. I just hope it kills. I think they got a great team on there, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that Marvel hasn't done a ton of comedy, and I feel like
comedy.
Well, like, I mean, the Ant-Man movies were ostensibly comedies when they came out.
Iron Man, there's a lot of funny stuff in Iron Man.
No, but I'm talking about like a full-on comedy.
Okay,
You know what I'm talking about,
Sure,
right,
sure.
Pete?
Yep.
Like, you take a pilot about vampires doing stand-up comedy. You know what I'm talking about? Spit take. So I'm excited to see Marvel branch into comedy, is what I'm saying.
Yep. All right, there we go. Let's move on. This is from Pablo Di Martinez. What is the most expensive trade you've ever bought, and what made you buy it?
Most expensive trade.
Most expensive trade.
I mean, I bought all the Starman omnibuses. That's probably the most expensive because it's my favorite, and those omnibuses are a sweet, sweet package. Very woolly. They're very woolly.
Oh, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the most expensive, but I got, there was an Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus years ago at Barnes & Noble. It was like some Barnes & Noble exclusive where they collected like
Barnes & Noble,
I
high
know.
society.
I know.
Exclusive.
But whatever it was like 80 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man or something like that. So I got that, and that's actually been great. I passed that to my daughter, and she loved it. She read through the whole thing.
You passed that on to your daughter? Oh, when you faked your death?
Yeah, I've been down here podcasting.
pass
She hasn't
stuff.
noticed.
You don't need to pass stuff on. Yeah, Allie, wait till you die. Put it in the will.
Every time I need to give my kids something, I pretend that I'm dying.
Smart. They'll
They
cherish
love
it
it.
more.
I bequeath you this Cheerios bowl.
My 6-year-old is always like, "Good bit, Dad."
Double guns, huh?
Yeah.
Did he learn that from old Uncle Justin? Double guns?
Yeah. The Eastman and Laird collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all the volumes, is probably my most. But I'm looking forward to. I want to get all of the Lock and Key in like an expensive, nice one, because I got like individual issues and a couple, but I want to get like the real dank shit. You know what I mean?
They?
Yeah.
Aren't they
I know what you
doing?
mean.
They're doing a omnibus or just released an omnibus or collection or something like that. I could
Cool.
be wrong, but you can check that out, Pete.
I don't know if they did, but I know that they are. I feel like when last
Right.
time we talked to them, they talked about that.
Yeah. Here we go. Last one here. This is from Jay Sinison. Favorite sitcom mom.
Ooh.
Wow, that's tough.
Favorite sitcom mom. Oh boy.
That is a tough one. There's a lot of sitcoms out there, and
Yeah, a lot over the years.
every character has a mom,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, in some capacity.
Favorite-
Wanda Maximoff from WandaVision.
Oh wow, Boo.
That's
Alf
a
mom, like Alf's mom. Yeah,
Elf's
that one.
mom.
Alf's mom.
Alf's mom on Melmac.
I did think about. It.
I'd kill me.
No, the human mom was great on
Add
Elf.
it to the SNL reel, Alex. You got a new impression.
Man.
I've never seen you do your Alf after all these years.
I don't know if you guys remember this, and I'm definitely dating myself here, but do you remember when they would give out Alf dolls at Burger King? with Happy
Oh,
Meals?
I'm not that old. As the youngest member of Comic Book Club,
I was 40 years old when I got
no idea
those.
what you're talking about.
Smart.
But they gave out these Alf dolls at Burger King with Happy Meals, and I was obsessed with collecting all of them and would constantly do the Alf voice as well now.
How old were you and you were doing Alf? Alf was like a Borscht Belt comedian on the show, and you were like, that's my guy. I worship that.
I loved it. I loved Alf, and I loved Henny Youngman.
Yes.
That's not a joke.
Comedians.
My
That's real? Henny Youngman, dude?
Henny
How did
Youngman,
you even encounter
my
that?
parents got a signed joke book from Henny Youngman with me, and it's one of my treasured possessions.
I'm going to go with...
Go to the source. Go to the source.
I'm going to go with Gina Davis from A Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah. I just want to mention Bandito740 over on YouTube says, fuck yeah, I had the Chef Alf. And that's a good one. I think that was one of the ones that I didn't get.
Oh, you guys should swap?
We should go swapsies.
Pete, what did you say? That's a movie.
Yeah, I didn't know. I forgot about the sitcom part. I was just trying to think of like Most Badass Mom. And that's the only thing I came up with.
All right, we do have one more here just to wrap this up over on YouTube. This is from Daniela Romero. What is your top 3 of TV shows right now? So
Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso. And
Not
Ted
currently.
Motherfucking Lasso.
Not currently airing.
Get in.
Top 3 TV shows that are airing right now. Or came out recently, I guess.
Yeah,
like in the past
sort
couple
of
months.
In the ballpark. I've been enjoying Mayor of Easttown, which is good. Let me throw out Invincible as a fave.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
That was so good. And I really like Servant on Apple Plus, if anyone's watching that.
Yeah, I would throw out, man, I agree with you on Invincible. Shadow and Bone, which Ben the Border Collie mentions here, is great on Netflix. Really super fun. I love those books too. If anybody hasn't read them, they're super easy, fun, quick reads. Highly recommend them. And the other one, this is a bit of a cheat, but coming up on Thursday, there's this show called Hacks that's debuting on HBO Max, and it's
that good?
So
really?
Good.
I'm so
good.
excited. I love Jean Smart. She's crushing it in Mayor of Easttown, one of my favorite parts, and she's stars in it.
If people don't know about the show, it's Jean Smart is an aging comedian. She's sort of like a Joan Rivers type. She has a residency in Vegas and a QVC show and has been running the same jokes for decades at this point. There's a comedian played by a woman named Hannah Einbinder, who is a real-life stand-up. She is a TV writer. She got canceled for her tweets and can't get a job, and they have the same manager, so they get paired up together. And plot-wise, it kind of like follows the path that you'd expect. They don't like each other at first, and then maybe begrudgingly work together, but the way that it's executed is so well done, so well shot, and so funny. I highly recommend. They're releasing it 2 episodes a week. The first 2 episodes are really fun, but they're like very much extended pilot. The 3rd episode, without building it too much, I was like sobbing at the end of it. And that'll come out next week. So it's something that just really builds really, really nicely.
Oh, great. Very excited.
I'm going to go with Hilda, Yasuke, and then Invincible.
Nice.
Interesting. All right, there we go. That's it for your audience questions. I was thinking about a comment I do or do not want to make, but it's going to upset Pete too much. Let's move on to our next section, which is trivia, and for that, we're going to turn it over to Pete.
All right, let's do this. This is the part we give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free in the form of a gift card to Midtown Comics online. You can safely get your comic books.
We got a handout from Jay Sinison over here.
Yeah, all right.
Bring them in.
Jay Sinison. Oh, I should announce the names, sort of like a Don Parker.
Sort of like as the star.
That's right.
Announcing trivia.
Yeah. And your host, Pete LePage. Musical guest, this same sound cue we've had for 12 years.
What's up? Hey, man.
Hey,
how are you? Thanks for
Thanks.
joining
Awesome.
the
How are you?
stream. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Pete in a second, but answer the questions, and you're going to.
Hey, listen, no help
adorable.
from the cat. No help from the cat.
This
All
is
right?
Kirby.
Oh, great name for a cat.
That's
All
a
right,
great
Pete,
name.
take it away with some questions for Kirby and
All right,
Mr. J.
great.
Citizen.
So today's trivia is on topical comic news and a small nod to the legend Robert Forster. So please listen to all three answers before choosing the correct one. Here we go. Question number 1. In Marvel's Voices Pride number 1, who is the new character that they are introducing? Is it A, Somnus, B, Omnitrust, or is it C, Steve James? So it's either A, or you could pick B, or you could pick C. Pick A.
Let's go with A.
A is correct. Nice job.
Ace.
Here we go. Question number 2. Batman number 108 sold over 200K copies thanks to whose debut? Is it A, Stevie Washington, B, Miracle Molly, or is it C, Shelley Winters? So it's either A, don't pick it, or it's B, Miracle Molly.
I mean, it's B, but I would read the hell out of Shelley Winters versus Batman.
Hell
Yes. Let's get
Nice. So last one, X-Men Hellfire Gala is ending with a murder. Who is the prime suspect? Is it A, Cyclops, B, Magneto, or is it C, Chuck Norris? So it's either A, Cyclops, you want to pick it but don't, or is it B, Magneto?
It's got to be Magneto. He's a shifty bastard.
Sure is. $25 will be yours. Congratulations.
Incredible. Jay,
Congrats.
shoot us an email at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. You're going to get $25. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Great seeing you.
All right.
Later,
there we go.
Jay.
Now, as we all know, new comics, they never stop a coming.
Just to kind of, Kevin
right.
is correct.
I don't know why we've been
but
doing this every week for a while, and
yeah,
Yeah, you really don't
it's
remember.
not just Delta Force. It is the Delta Force, the 1986 classic.
Yes.
Amazing. That was the sub quiz happening inside of Pete's quiz. Now let's move to new comics. We're looking forward to Pete. Kick it off.
Ooh, that's great. I'm going to have to say I am looking forward to the next issue of Beta Ray, Bill. So I cannot wait.
Which is coming out May 26th. What are you looking
Yep.
forward to this week?
So excited. I can't even deal with what's happening. this week
That's a good
because
follow-up
I'm like,
question, Alex.
Yeah.
Talk about not knowing what's happening in this show that we do every week.
Justin, you want to take a comic that's coming out this week?
I'm looking forward to Rorschach number 8 from over at DC
Ooh.
Comics. This series has been great, dense, and what I think Tom King does is each issue feels like such a standalone thing. Everything feels like a bottle episode of a television show, yet still happens to tie into this grand story. And this upcoming issue tomorrow, I feel, or today, is no different. So definitely great stuff.
I'm looking forward to the Silver Coin number 2 coming out from
Oh,
Image Comics.
man.
It's this new anthology
Woo!
horror series from a bunch of fun all-stars. This next issue is by Kelly Thompson. The first issue was by Chip Zdarsky and was very messed up in exactly the right way. So excited to check this out. And all of those, except for the one that Pete mentioned, are going to be in the Stack podcast. It comes out Wednesdays at 9
Box
a.m.
me in.
Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Both
Not a
in
brag.
the Comic Book Club feed and in its own feed. And folks, that is it for this week's show. A couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Olivia Cuartero-Briggs for coming on. Check out Silver City from Aftershock Comics in stores tomorrow. Also, Daniel Warren Johnson. Check out Beta Ray Bill coming to
Yes.
stands
You should.
May 26th, issue number 3. Definitely check that out. Next week, we're going to have a packed show for you. Stan Stanley is going to be here to talk about the hazards of love. Also, Eric Goldman, the managing editor for Fandom, is going to be here. And Tom Payer is going to be back on the show to talk about Pen Ultiman, as mentioned earlier in the show. Definitely check out Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast in its own feed. That's exclusively where you can get these Phase 1 rewatch podcasts. This one is very fun. That's coming up this week about Iron Man 2. And
Very fun.
last week, The Impractical Hulk one had a special guest appearance by Kevin Feige.
Kevin
from
Feige,
2008.
another fun drop by from Kevin Feige, our little quirky neighbor.
Yes. Riverdale After Dark, a Riverdale podcast, has a new episode that dropped this week with writer Nicole Osto talking about her Archie Comics books, which was fun as well. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show and all the shows we do. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen. At Comic Book Live on Twitter. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and more. Until next time, good night.
Take care of yourself.
Good night, guys. Keep the party going, Pete. Woo! Woolly Ep.
Oh, boy.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.